Hey, summer when you were 8 years old felt like an entire geological epoch. It was endless. You woke up in June, lived what felt like 3 distinct lifetimes between breakfast and sunset, and by the time September arrived, you were practically a different historical figure. Today, you blink on a random Tuesday morning, and somehow it is November. Your birthdays no longer arrive like milestones. They arrive like aggressive pop-up notifications while you are simply trying to get through the week. Entire seasons slip away between laundry cycles and grocery runs. You look at the calendar and feel a quiet, eerie vertigo, wondering where the last 5 years actually went, and why nobody warned you that adulthood comes with a fast forward but unpermanently taped down. Most people assume this is just a psychological trick, or that we simply get busier as we get older. But the truth is much stranger. Time is not actually speeding up. Your brain is changing the way it records reality. You are living through a profound biological transformation in how your nervous system perceives, processes it, compresses the experience of being alive. To understand why your years are vanishing, we have to look at the mathematics first. In 1897, a French philosopher named Paul Janet proposed something beautifully simple, often called the proportional theory of time. Think of it this way. When you turn 1 year old, that single year represents 100% of your entire existence on Earth. It is literally all you know. When you turn 10, a single year is now 1/10 of your life, or 10%. By the time you reach age 30, 1 year represents roughly 3% of your total lived experience. And by age 50, a full 12 months is a microscopic percent of your memory bank. To a 10-year-old child, waiting 1 year for their next birthday feels like an agonizingly long stretch because it represents a massive fraction of their entire existence. To someone in their 40s, that same year is just a tiny drop added to a very full bucket. Subjectively, our internal clock is not linear. It is logarithmic. In terms of pure perceived time, you lived roughly half your entire subjective life by the time you were around 20 years old. That thought is naturally unsettling, but the proportional theory only explains the math. It does not explain what is physically happening inside your skull right now. For that, we have to examine the hardware. Inside your brain, there is no single ticking grandfather clock. There is no biological pendulum swinging back and forth. Instead, your sense of time is constructed on the fly through the speed of neural processing, the number of distinct images your brain can capture and render every second. Professor Adrian B. Jan, a mechanical engineer and researcher at Duke University, proposed that the passage of perceived time is tied directly to the rate at which our eyes and brain process visual information. When you are young, your brain is pristine. The neural pathways are short, the connections are fresh, and electrical signals race across your cortex with astonishing speed. Your eyes make rapid, microscopic darting motions called saccades, constantly taking high-resolution snapshots of everything around you. A child's brain is essentially shooting reality at an ultra-high definition at 120 frames per second. Because the brain is processing so many individual frames of data in every literal minute, time subjectively feels stretched out, rich. And why? As we age, biology takes its course. The brain's neural networks grow vastly more complex, meaning electrical signals have to travel longer, more intricate pathways. At the same time, physical wear, subtle microvascular changes, and the natural slowdown of neurotransmitters like dopamine introduce tiny fractions of latency. Your eyes still take in the light, but the processing apparatus takes longer to decode the signal. As a result, the adult brain captures fewer discrete frames of reality per second. You are no longer recording in high-speed slow motion. You have quietly dropped down to a standard, lightly sluggish 24 frames per second. When fewer frames are recorded in an hour, fewer individual events are stored in memory. And when you look back at that hour later in the evening, your brain interprets the lack of visual frames as a shorter duration. The movie did not get shorter. Your camera simply stopped taking as many pictures. Yet there's an even bigger culprit behind your vanishing years, and it has to do with efficiency. Your brain is the most metabolically expensive organ in your body. It takes up about 2% of your body weight, but burns through 20% of your daily caloric energy. Because of this, the brain hates wasting energy. It is constantly looking for ways to put your life on autopilot. Think back to the very first time you ever sat in the driver's seat of a car. You remember the exact texture of the steering wheel. You remember checking 3 mirrors every 4 seconds with sweating palms. You felt the precise distance between your foot and the brake pedal. You noticed every road sign, every pedestrian, every shifting shadow. That 20-minute doctor felt like a 45-minute intense cognitive expedition. Why? Because everything was novel. Your brain had no precising template for driving. It had to record every single detail in high fidelity. Now fast forward to this morning. You got into your car, backed out of the driveway, and suddenly you were sitting in the parking lot at work. You have zero memory of the drive. You do not remember stopping at the red lights. You do not remember turning down the radio. You essentially teleported across town. What happened? Nothing went wrong. Your brain simply said, we have executed this exact script for 1,000 times before. No tigers jumped out. No new data was required. I'm going to delete this 20-minute block of reality to save battery power. Neuroscientist David Eagleman has demonstrated this principle extensively. Our perception of time is tied directly to memory density. When your life is full of your first school, your first bicycle crash, your first kiss, your first heartbreak, your first apartment, your brain has to build entirely new neural folders. It writes detail, vivid, emotional code. When you look back at that era, the sheer density of memories creates the illusion that the era lasted an eternity. Adulthood, however, is a masterclass in routine. You wake up at the same hour, drink coffee from the same mug, roll the same for applications, take the same commute, talk to the same colleagues, and watch the same genre of shows on the couch until your eyes get heavy. To you, it feels like life is happening, but to your brain's filing system, an entire month of identical routines can easily be compressed into a single, tiny compressed file when every day looks, tastes, and feels like the day before. Your brain does not save 30 separate days. It saves one day and hits copy and paste 29 times. When you turn around on New Year's Eve to ask where the year went, the answer is simple. You did not lose the time. You just lived a year that contained only 2 weeks of distinct, non-repetitive data. The rest was discarded by the compression algorithm. This is the great paradox of growing older. We spend our youth craving stability, predictability, and safety. We work hard to build a comfortable life where nothing surprising or dangerous ever happens. And then, once we achieve that comfort, we discover that hidden acts comfort makes time disappear. The days feel comfortably long while you are sitting in them, but the years become terrifyingly short in retrospect. Routine is a gentle thief. It leaves the minutes intact, but steals the decades. What do you do with this reality? You cannot turn back the biological clock, and you cannot stop your neural pathways from maturing, but you can hack the compression algorithm. You cannot make the calendar longer, but you can force your brain to record in high definition again. And the only way to do that is through intentional friction and radical novelty. When you break your routine, you force your brain off autopilot. If you walk down a street you have never walked down before, your eyes begin darting again. If you pick up a completely unfamiliar instrument, or struggle to learn a language that sounds like gibberish to your ears, your prefrontal cortex has to wake up and start building brand new neural roads. If you travel to an unfamiliar place where you do not understand the subway map or the menu, you are suddenly thrown back into the sensory overload of being an 8-year-old child. Time expands when you are confused, curious, or slightly uncomfortable. The people who feel like their lives are long and rich are not the ones who found a perfect, unchanging routine and stayed there for 40 years. They are the ones who refuse to let their brains settle into sleep mode. They changed jobs, learned strange hobbies, talked to people they disagreed with, took unexpected detours, and allowed themselves to be clumsy, awkward beginners over and over again. Every time you do something for the first time, you force your brain to create a new folder. You force it to capture the extra frames. You buy yourself subjective days that would have otherwise been swallowed by the routine. You are not running out of time because you're getting older. You are running out of time because you stopped being surprised by the world. The cure for vanishing years is not to fight the clock, but to feed your mind something it hasn't already memorized. Look around the room you are sitting in right now. Notice what you have taken for granted. Take a different path home tomorrow. With a book you don't understand, allow life to have a little more texture, a little more friction, and a lot less predictability. If you felt the weight of these vanished years, and you want to build a quieter, more intentional relationship with your mind, subscribe to the channel. We explore the hidden architecture of human psychology, memory, and the quiet mysteries of living every week. Until next time, slow down your thoughts, step off the autopilot, and see what the world looks like when you are actually watching.